Hello, everyone. Welcome to the World of Pets podcast. So, we all like to see our pets live as long as possible, but we also like them to have a healthy life. So, we feel that we have found something that can help facilitate that. And while we do talk a little bit about it, the main thing about the podcast is we want to explore and discover all things about pets and laugh and cry with them. So, just a word from one of our sponsors, debspets.com. And I'll say active ingredient, although it is just a mushroom, is a medicinal mushroom that can allow the body of both humans and pets to heal itself. Just an amazing thing. And we have lots and lots of testimonials about how it works, as well as clinical studies. So today, our guest is Scott Tilley, and Scott is the head guy at Track, which is a therapeutic ranch that has animals so that special needs children can relate to animals. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what they do, how long they've been around, and everything. But he doesn't know that I know this. I know him from a networking group. And last week I missed it, but he was the speaker. And I heard a rumor that people were throwing money at him because he was telling such great stories about how his program had worked well. Is that true, Scott?
It is true. Yeah. I think it's the first time a presenter walked away with cash from there. That's what I was told anyway. So, no, it was a great presentation. Obviously a great bunch of business people that we network with. Shout out to them, the group. We meet at the L offices. Just a great place to meet, and I've done quite a bit of business in the group already in just a short period of time I've been there. So it's been very productive.
Good. So can you tell us a little bit about how Track came about and how long it's been in business?
Well, we've been in business. This is our 18th year being in business, and how it came about was I was running a boarding facility at the economic downturn in 2006, and it was things in our world were going to change substantially, which they did. Hay prices went through the roof. People could no longer afford to keep their horses. They were ditching horses out in the deserts. It was just a really, really bad situation. People were out of work. There wasn't much going on. The construction just really folded up, and it was really tough for everyone. So we had to kind of change what we were going to be doing. The owner of the ranch, basically, he was big into manufacturing. His wife had the interest in horses, so the ranch was basically a hobby ranch that we turned into a business, because he was very business minded. But as that business started to fold up, he said, hey, listen, we're going to sell the ranch, and life as it's about to change. And so basically I went from having a pretty good job place to live, you know, having it pretty good, to basically being on the street with no job and no place to live. So luckily, when he sold the ranch, he gave me a pretty decent nest egg, and my wife had some money saved as well. And she said, you know, do you want to do this nonprofit thing? And we talked to a bunch of professionals and, you know, financial experts, and they were like, you know, no, this is not a really good idea to be doing this at this particular time. But we had 3 little girls. She had two little girls from a previous relationship, and I had a little girl from a previous relationship. And so we were kind of like the Brady Bunch, so to speak. But we wanted those girls to be raised, you know, kind of in and around that ranch setting. They had already kind of somewhat had that experience of being in and around the ranch, and with the uncertainty of the economy and the way things were at the time, I was like, you know, I'm willing to take the sacrifice for the girls, and, you know, I'd rather them be raised here than for me to go get a 9-to-5 job, you know, working at a place. Well, I ended up having to go get a 9-to-5 job for a buddy of mine that I know that was in the commercial door business, because the only thing that was happening during that time was commercial. Some of the commercial businesses were still building, and they were still doing some things. So I helped him out as he was helping me out, while we located a ranch, and then was, you know, building the ranch, building fences and things like that. So we started right off of Craycroft, right across from Castle Hill and St. Gregory's.
Right.
And at the time, the place, you know, the place was really run down. The weeds were really tall. It was a 12-acre property, so it worked adequate for what we needed it for. Had a couple of houses on it that were pretty run down. Weeds were 6 foot tall. Well, anyway, I got the tractor in there, started cleaning things up, and they were replacing all the telephone poles down Craycroft. And so I stopped the guy one day when they were replacing the poles. I said, "Hey, where are you guys going with these telephone poles?" And he said, "Well, we have to take them to our yard. They have to be inspected by the engineer, and then you can come and pick them up if you want." And well, I have, you know, big trailers, so I got on the list, and we started hauling the poles back to the ranch. And so I started building basically like a Lincoln log fence, so to speak, right there on Craycroft. Well, my wife's initial plan was to just work with kids that had specific challenges. But being located right across from St. Greg's and Castle Hill, as I was building things, I'd have parents kind of show up, you know, before their kids, and, you know, start asking questions. "Hey, what are you going to do? And what's the plan?" And I said, "Well, we're going to, you know, take these kids with specific challenges. They're going to learn how to do, you know, animal care, animal assisted life skills, equine assisted learning. And then we're going to take these kids out, and we're going to pay back. We're going to do community service work. So where these kids will handle these animals and go to assisted living homes and Ronald McDonald House and Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind, where they become the service provider." And the parents that would stop, I was like, "Oh my God, this sounds phenomenal. I want my kids to get involved in this." And so before we even had the fences built, we had to change our business plan, and kind of open it up to everyone. So the kind of unique thing about the ranch is that you'll be there, you know, and you don't know who's there receiving services, who's there volunteering, or who's there paying for services. So it's a very unique situation. And then when I take these kids to community service work, say, the assisted living homes or memory care facilities, here you might have a 12-year-old little girl who lost her father a year or two before. She's come in, she's learned about the animals, she's gained coping skills to deal with, the loss of her father. And then I take her with the animal that she's really connected with to this memory care facility where, the gentleman is, well into his 80s, and he's there for memory care. He hardly says 3 or 4 words all week.
Mm-hmm.
But the day that he knows the track kids are coming, he's up early. He shaved his face. He's got his nice duds on, and he's practically sprinting down to that courtyard. And he sits down there and he tells one story after another about his childhood, about the chicken that rode on his mom's shoulder and the goat that climbed all over his daddy's truck. And he's telling this story to a little girl who lost her father, a year before. And so we call that our track magic. Because that's really what inspires all of this.
Right.
And
Could
it's
be
really
called a track miracle.
well that too. The miracles come every day. I mean, I can. That's why I asked you. How long is your program? Because I could probably go on and talk for hours. You'll have to give me the hook at some point. Because I can tell you story after story about things that have gone on at the ranch.
Okay, so I have a question. For those of you that might not know, we are in Tucson. Obviously, Scott's mentioned it a number of times, and so Castle Hill is an elementary school, which is I'm not even sure if it's on the campus technically of St. Gregory's High School. And they are right across the street from the location that he's talking about. I do know that. I've been there. And so I'm wondering, did the students from the traditional schools whose parents stopped in and wanted them to get involved, did they work with the special needs students, or was it like set up like 2 different programs, or sort of a combination?
No, they worked right alongside. The ranch duties on the ranch are pretty. It's pretty much straightforward. It's the same thing twice a day: feed, water, clean. Feed, water, clean. And that's 7 days a week. They don't care if it's your birthday or it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. You've never been more judged unless you're 5 minutes late feeding horses. They will certainly let you know about it.
Okay. So they would work with the students who, the 2 different types of students would work together.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good, because that's a good experience for both of them. So the picture that you sent of the facility, is that Craycroft, or have you moved?
We've moved now. We're next to Green Things, the nursery. So we're right off of River Road.
I do know.
Right next to Green Things and Brandy Fenton Park, kind of right back in that area, right off the Riverwalk Trail. And we've been there since 2016.
Wow. So 8 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how did you, I know I was very surprised when we were talking and you were talking about different types of animals. How did that come about, that you expanded from horses to other animals? And do you have like a progression sort of
Um,
thing?
it was always that way. That was my wife's doing, because she had, kind of rolling this back to her experience. She has a special ed background, and she was teaching in Atlanta, and next to the school that she was at, there happened to be an assisted living home. So she had a couple of small animals in her class, rabbit, a chicken, I think a guinea pig and a hamster or something like that.
Mhm.
And so the kids that she had would do a service visit at that assisted living home next door with the animals. And that was really where the programming and programs came from her experience in Atlanta. And really it really wasn't until we moved to the Craycroft, when we shut the boarding facility down, we moved to the Craycroft facility, that we brought the horses in, because our girls were small, and when the girls were little, they had their own horses. We used to take them around the state and compete in gymkhana and barrel racing, high school rodeo, things of that nature. So they had their own horses. So we kind of used our own horses into the program. So when we first started, we had 2 chickens, 2 ducks, 2 rabbits, 2 pigs, and 2 goats and 2 sheep, I think, and 3 or 4 horses. And that was what we started with. And 18 years later, I think we have about 60 animals on the property. So
Oh, wow.
25 horses. Yeah.
Wow. So were all the ones that you named, there were always 2 of them. Was that so that you could end up having more?
No, we did a little bit of breeding, but no, it was usually just to pair them up. So they had, they're all herd animals. And so you want to kind of pair them up as a herd, at least have a pal.
Yeah.
So that was the thought process behind that.
All right.
And it just kind of grew from there, the best way to be a millionaire with horses, right? You
No.
start with 2 million.
Okay. Yep.
Very expensive, very expensive. Like I said, they eat 7 days a week, so it's not like you can park it in the garage and
Right.
the food bill stops coming through. No, they need 24-hour care and vet care and it never fails. When one of them gets sick, it's generally not during business hours. It's in the middle of the night and
Of course.
into the wee hours of the morning, and
Yep.
there you are,
Yeah,
the life of a rancher.
that's right. So, how how did it grow? I know you were telling me beforehand that you've got 750 to 850 volunteers. I mean, is that what you've had on the life of the program, or is that what you have actually now?
That's not really what we started with. Obviously we started small and kind of got more volunteers in. The more, the bigger we got, the more volunteers we needed. So we just increased that, volunteer recruitment and orientation program and horse handler training programs. And I have quite a few interns that come through through from the college now as well. We didn't start with that either. So it's been quite a learning process along the way. We've picked, different collaborations up and partnered with different people and really have made the growth possible.
Right. And I'm sure as your reputation grew and you had successes, then that helped with those collaborations.
Yeah, very much so. In 2019, I would probably say that was our very best year. We were a angel charity beneficiary, a large grant beneficiary. We got $109,000 from the angels for our equine therapy program.
Mm-hmm.
We also acquired a grant from the EGs, and I was the Fast Pitch Award, Tucson Electric Power to the People Award winner for the Social Venture Partners Fast Pitch. It's kind of like a 3-minute fast pitch competition between 10 nonprofits that they select. And that was quite a process. Terrifying to present in front of 500 plus people. My knees were knocking for sure.
Well, apparently they knocked correctly if you won it, right?
Yeah, I did pretty well. And actually that community foundation, that Social Venture Partners Fast Pitch presentation has continued to pay off. We just received another $5,000 through an anonymous donor via that foundation. And I assume that they saw my pitch or just follow our program. But I thought that was very, very neat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At any time, if you want Emily to put up the pictures
Oh, yeah.
that you sent over, let us know.
Okay.
Whenever.
Well, my wife, I think the first picture I gave you was a picture of my wife and I and her horse. Her horse's name is Ditto, and we call him Ditto because her first horse, which is basically the one that kind of started this program with her, he actually went blind while we were opening the program. So we had a blind horse, which kind of really reached out to a lot of this, people that had specific challenges. And when he passed away, I found this other horse, Ditto, and he was almost like the spitting image of the horse that she had. This horse is now 38 years old. I know, right? And he's such a special guy. He still does work. I mean, he's not going to win any races by any means, but he's the kind of horse that you could put a 3-year-old on the back of and go take a nap in the house and come back out, and they'd still be having a good time and be safe and sound. He's just a gentle babysitter, just a super, super neat, gentle old horse. I use them for our animal education classes. We teach animal education classes in some of the foothills schools, their early release classes. And it's basically that, I don't know, first grade to maybe third or fourth grade kids. So at that age, mom's really kind of pushing them to brush their teeth and do all these things. Well, as the saying goes, really long in the tooth when you're older, so I open this horse's mouth up and his teeth are they're 2.5 inches long. They're so long, right? But horses can't brush their teeth. So obviously he's got junk and dirt and yellow and brown stuff in his teeth. So I always pop his mouth open and I said, now listen, guys, if mom asks you to go brush your teeth, go brush your teeth, because this is what your mouth will look like if you don't brush your teeth. And so, yeah, so the teeth, everybody just loves that about him, because he'll just let me open up his mouth. He's got these big old long teeth. Or 38-year-old horse. It's pretty special.
Yeah. So say that somebody came, I mean, you did give the example of the one gal, young lady who had lost her father, but say that you have a special needs child that's starting out with your program. So what is like the progression? Do you have sort of a basic progression that you use as far as the animals, which animals are best suited for an introduction, and then moving on up, of course?
Yeah, generally speaking, if they younger kids, we start with our animal assisted life skills program, and that's basically working with the small animals. That'll be 5 to 6, 7 weeks, just depending on the progression of the child, and it differs from child to child, obviously, in some of the severities of the challenges that they're facing. But we also have small miniature horses and miniature donkeys, so they don't have to just go from, say, a goat to a full size 1,200-pound horse. There's kind of that transition in between. So they kind of do the animal assisted life skills, and that kind of gives them all of the smaller livestock. They get familiar with all of that, some of the terminologies and handling and cleanup and, kind of like just problem solving skills. We'll give them some challenges, like we might have an obstacle course set up for them one day that they have to lead the animals through the course. It might be bathing, and then the equine assisted learning is still a ground. It's a ground activity, and what I say by ground is that the child is not actually riding the horse; they're on the ground working with the horse. And we've got a variety of different things, that we can teach the children depending on their challenge, obviously. I've worked largely with the Autistic Society. I've had a lot of success with that, even with the nonverbal ones, getting words out of them, and just something as simple as little foam letters. They start to learn the horse terminologies, what the brushes are called, parts of the saddle are called. And then, we start putting those small sentences together where they actually start to communicate. I've had some that have started with me that when they started with me that they're small, that are now literally productive members of society. Where one young man started with me when he was 9 years old, was pretty nonverbal, really didn't have very much speech. But he had just like this aura around him with the horses. He was just like really cool as a cucumber, calm demeanor. And he had an interest in the horse hooves. I used to trim all of the horses' hooves and, maintain all of the hooved animals. And, he started with me when he was 9. He's now 22. And I helped him get through the Tucson Farrier School. Normally to get a certification, it's about a year. It's about a year-long credential, 6 months to a year to get certified and be competent. It took him 3 years to do it. But he did it. He's now apprenticing with a full-time farrier in town, and he maintains all of our horses and hoofed animals at the ranch. So all 60 animals he's taking care of, which is a huge load off of my back.
Right.
But now he's going around town. I was actually just at the feed store the other day, and the owner of the feed store said, "Hey, Scott, I wanted to let you know you've done a phenomenal job with him. He came and trimmed our horses, and I was amazed." And I was like, "Well, thank you." I was like, there's been a lot of people involved in that, but I can't take all the credit. But it's good to know that he's doing well in other places besides just mine. Because
Right.
sometimes I feel when they're at my place, they're a little more protected and sheltered from the outside world. But just to know that he's able to conduct himself professionally, and somebody is complimenting his work,
Right.
it made me feel very, very proud.
Oh, yes, definitely. And
Another
then,
young man started with me when he was young too. He was terrified of the rooster. Parents are both doctors. They had financial means. Had this kid in front of all kinds of professionals and experts, and they basically told them, you should give up on him. He's just going to be institutionalized. As a parent, that's got to just be devastating
yes,
to hear
that's
those words
what's
come
going on.
out of someone's mouth. But I will tell you today that he just graduated Pima College with a digital videography degree. He's done some of our like video things and stuff. They're the Dusty Times Productions on the Track YouTube channel. He's also an illustrator. My wife's writing a couple children's book about the animals experience, how they come into the ranch and learn the ropes. So she kind of like narrates the animals, and this young man draws the illustrations. I have another guy that comes. Mom brings him all the way from California because of she's heard of me. She's big into the autistic society, autism hope. Or I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. I should have it. But anyway, she's big with the Autism Society, and she heard about some of the successes that I've had, and she comes every 6 weeks. She flies out here with her son, and she spends a week out here with us. And so I do basically 2 times a day with them, kind of midday and then an evening session, and he's made leaps and bounds of success. Another one, he's kind of like our poster child this year. He was one of the ones that I showed a video about at the presentation at the group, which is probably why everybody threw money at me, because it was kind of one of those. It's one of those ones where it really kind of pulled at your heartstrings, and
Right.
heck, I was trying to hold back the tears, and I've seen the video 100 times, but pretty special young man. Kind of in the video that we show, again, the story, all the professionals said that they should give up on him, and the parents just decided, hey, I'm going to put this kid in front of people who believe in him.
Right.
And so in the video that I showed, it says he may not ever drive a car, but by golly, he can ride a horse. And so we're going to have to go back and change the video, because he's been helping me drive the feed golf cart around to feed the animals. The kid can drive. And because of his specific challenge that he has, mom, I helped mom get him information to get him a car, his own like personal little car. So now he has one in California. She just sent me a video a couple weeks ago with him driving, driving on the sidewalk, with his mom there, of course, and he'll probably always have to have someone with him, but
Uh-huh.
at least he's experiencing these things. And,
Right.
At 20 years old, just to see him do boy stuff, like one of the last nights that they were there, having a session. I've got a young man that works for me that's 16. He started riding with, or started coming to camp with me when he was 5 years old. So he really knows his way around the ranch, is very comfortable. And he's a shift leader for me at 16 years old. So he comes over after school and one day on the weekend. And so anyway, well, I've got a big soccer ball, like a big soccer ball that the horses can play with soccer. And the boys were just kicking the ball back and forth, just having a good old time. And if you could just hear the giggling and the laughter and the stuff that was coming out of him, it just warmed your heart, because at 20 years old, the young man, he doesn't have any friends, and could you imagine being 20 years old and not having any friends?
No.
It's all the cool stuff you get to do. It's all with the specialists and, your teacher or whatever. But, would you want to be that kid that, nobody gets invited to a birthday party, or, doesn't get invited to sleepovers, and doesn't get to go play basketball across the street, or, run up and down the street with the kids because everybody thinks he's weird,
Yeah. And you
And
don't
so,
want to be the parents of that kid either, because the parents go through agony. Seeing
man,
the child is not included.
and this is kind of what I really pride myself on, and what I really feel that kind of sets me aside from any other kind of therapeutic place or anything like that, is a lot of times these kids, they have siblings, right? And most of the time the siblings are drug along, and they have to sit on the sideline and watch their sibling with challenges do all of this cool stuff. They don't get to participate. Well, at my ranch, they get to participate, because I feel like we need to cultivate that relationship, because when the parents are gone, who's going to be the caregiver, right?
Right.
We need to have fond memories and good memories, not resentment, right? Because they're made to sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then a lot of, another thing that really kind of sets me aside is the parents. A lot of times the parents have sacrificed careers, they've sacrificed relationships, they've sacrificed financially, emotionally. And, when I reach out and I give my hand and I say, ma'am, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Would you like to ride with your son? Would dad, do you guys want to get on and ride? And my gosh, I've seen people just break down in tears, crying, because nobody has ever asked them
Right.
how they feeling. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And so, like the lady that comes from California, it's kind of a whole experience. It's a vacation. So they come out every 6 weeks, and they have a little Tucson vacation. I've partnered with JW Marriott at the hometown suites over here. That's not too far away from the ranch. So they can, a lot of times these kids with challenges, they have very specific dietary needs, and they have to have special food and kitchens and things of that nature are kind of pretty handy. So the JW Marriott, that hometown suites that's right there off of Rudisill and Oracle, has been phenomenal partnership with Track. We also have a partnership with JSX Air. It's kind of a special airliner that flies between Phoenix and LA or Burbank, where they have a quiet room in case there's meltdowns or anything like that. They're educated on how to deal with the situation and meltdowns with people with specific challenges. The airplanes are in a special location, so you don't have to you go through security, but it's not the same as everybody else. You don't have to park in the lot. You pull right up to the hangar. The airplane's right outside the hangar. They also have a rental car right there. It's been a great partnership. Every time that they show up there, they know that she's coming. They know them by name. They really go the extra mile to make sure that the child is comfortable and he's got all of the things that he's going to need to make the short trip that they make. The car drive from Phoenix to Tucson is actually longer than the plane trip. So
imagine it would be.
So it's been really a great experience for them. And in his normal society, normally he wouldn't go to the Whole Foods to pick out things, or he wouldn't go to the Walgreens to get bottled water or whatever that they needed. Either mom would send one of the service people to go do it, or someone would stay with him. And he wouldn't experience those things. Well, now he's experiencing just day-to-day life stuff. She always had him helping out and doing chores in and around the house, but just going out and having experiences, we're kind of like always afraid of the meltdown, right?
Right.
But he has grown so much, and now he puts sentences together where it's just phenomenal. And I mean, it's nothing more than just horse terminologies and parts of the saddle and walk, trot, canter, whoa, but he's communicating, right?
Yes, progress.
He's communicating. It's progress. So it's super neat.
I'm sure that we could go on and on for lots of stories. I'll have to have you back. But what about the other pictures that you sent over? I don't want to miss out on anything here.
No. So I think I sent the next picture was kind of like an overview of the ranch. So that was kind of the ranch setup. And then I think I sent you a childhood picture of me with my first horse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because you didn't label that what they were. Emily, can we see the overview of the ranch? Scott can explain to us it's how much bigger is it than the property on Craycroft?
It's actually smaller.
Okay.
But it's utilized every square inch of what we have. We really have kind of outgrown that property, so to speak, but we make it work for sure.
So can you tell us what's what there?
Okay, so the big round building that you see there, that's our round pen, and that's where we do a lot of the training. It's a 62-foot covered round pen, and it has misters in it. It has a big fan. They call it a big ass fan. Um, that's really the name of it. I'm not joking. Um, and we've also held some events inside there. So I've got like a roll down screen. We've had some silent auction items that we put up along the outside of it, and have, the tables inside with the musician and everything. It's kind of a really unique space. And then
Well, if
the
people are
tan
from around here, they may not understand the importance of that, of the misters and the fan.
yeah, it literally will bring the temperature down 20 degrees with that fan and those misters on in the summertime.
Wow, that's
Um,
great.
and I can have 8 of my horses and 8 beginners on horses in that round pen, and my horses are all verbal trained, so they'll walk, trot, canter, whoa, and because of the taper of the roof, the acoustics inside the building are phenomenal for training horses and for teaching. So it's just a really, really cool space. The gray area just to the right of the round pen, that's our riding arena. That's where most of our riding takes place, riding lessons and whatnot. Just to the north of that is our birthday party space. It's like a little event space where it has its own ramada, a couple of picnic tables, and a couple of small corrals where we can bring their own little personal petting zoo over there. Um, each kid gets a hand-led horse ride that participates in the birthday party. We do the birthday parties on Sundays. Um, and then the tan long shed rows that are to the south of the round pen, that's where all the horses are housed. Um, and then the white building, I have a few horses. The miniature horses are housed in there. The pigs are housed in there, and I have a very special horse housed in there. And our office is at the very front of it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the whole setup.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so what picture? Oh, so we're looking for the picture with you with your first horse, huh?
Yeah. That's not my horse, but I kind of look like a horse at this point in time of the day.
Excuse me. Wow. Well, this has been really great. We'll get these other pictures in and then wrap up. But
Yeah, so that's my first horse. Um, his mother had died at birth and giving birth to him. And the funny thing is if you can keep that young picture up, and then post the older picture, the to date picture with my white shirt and my black horse. It's kind of funny to see. Here's a young cowboy with his horse, and then the picture right beside it as the cowboy in his 50s with his horse next to the round pen. That's the black horse. I think I sent you that picture.
I'm not sure. I was just saving them and passing them on to Emily real quick. So I really didn't pay a lot of attention, but
There you go.
is that it? Yeah.
Yep. I guess you can't put them both side by side, but it's kind of funny to see the two pictures. When I looked at the two pictures and the way I was holding the horse, I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. I'm holding the horse exactly the same way.
Wow. Very
Um,
good. Was there another one? Or was that?
I think there was another one of me laying down with a horse in a wash. It was just, some of, back to my training days. I've done some special trick training with horses before. Get them to lay down and, where you can get on them. And so, yeah, he was a real special horse. He ended up, he ended up being sold for quite a bit of money at just a 2-year-old because he could do all of this stuff. So.
Wow. Oh man, that's great. So, what if people would like to make donations? What do they do? You are obviously, as a nonprofit, accept donations.
Yes, ma'am. We are actually a qualifying charitable organization, and a lot of 501c3s are not qualifying charitable organizations. And what that basically means is that we can give a dollar for dollar off your Arizona state taxes. It's $841 for a married couple and $421 for single head of household. And if they would like to donate to the ranch, they can go to track, and that's TRAK, Tucson.org. And you can go right to our donate button. And if you'd like that Arizona state tax credit, you just make that denomination, and we'll get you a tax letter out for your taxes. And like I said, it is dollar for dollar off your Arizona state taxes. So everybody has to pay taxes. And let's face it, our roads aren't getting any better. They're not putting the money back into the roads or any kind of stuff like that. So at least when you make a donation with me, you're going to see where that money goes. And if you'd like to if you'd like to meet some of the kids or come help out with one of my camps or get involved, you can also go to that website. It's TRAK, Tucson.org. We've got a volunteer orientation coming up here in November. You can get signed up for that. Buy the combo package if you want to learn how to handle horses. The orientation is about 2 to 2.5 hours in length. We do it on a Saturday. And you have to pass a background check, obviously, because we work with kids, but all that stuff's online. I think it's $15 for the background check. You have to pay for that, and $45 for our combo orientation. You'll get 2 shirts, a volunteer shirt and a horse handler shirt, and you'll be ready to go service the community and help me make a bigger impact in what we're doing. Those donation dollars just really go a long ways. And, when you've got 25 hay burners, as my dad said, you need every penny you can get.
Right. Very good. We'll make sure that goes up when we post that on YouTube.
Okay.
So I appreciate you coming. Just a little bit about the other companies that promote us, and that is The Great Discovery, which is a content creator platform. The mushroom that I explained about to you in the beginning, there is a free course and a paid course that goes into more detail about that mushroom that's available for people. And then we also want to mention the World of Ability Podcast Network. And Scott, you might want to hook up here with Emily, and Kurt Roscoff is also on here, and they do this podcast a couple times a week under a couple of different names, where the purpose is, like you were saying, the people that you worked with that ended up being able to go on to jobs that started talking and so forth. The World of Ability is the assumption that everybody has abilities. They should not be thought of as disabled. They should be thought of as having an ability, and we just need to find it. So you might be interested in being on their podcast and getting word out
Absolutely.
outside of Tucson.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I want to thank you. We did go just about an hour.
All
And
right. See, I told
definitely,
you you'd have to give me the hook.
right, right. But one thing I was thinking when one thing that I go to this class about podcasting, and one of the things we talked about one day was actually having the portable equipment. So if I get brave enough to be trained to get that and be trained in it, then I could come over and do an interview with you right there at your property.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we will close out here. Did you have any closing thoughts for us?
Well, Debbie, thank you. It's been an honor. And you know, if I could let your listeners know anything, or what I would really want them to know, is our kids are on track. Huh?
All right. I like it.
Well, thank
Very
you.
good. Well, there you go. I'm virtually throwing money at you. Like
All
they get it.
right. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
All right. You guys have a great night.
Yep. You too.
Bye-bye.